Obviously, pretty sad news in the last week or so with Nathan Murphy. I guess having the call wasn't necessarily his call, but having the call that he'll retire after, I think, 10 concussions since last coming. And a premiership win for Collingwood, which is kind of a nice way to kind of conclude a career, albeit abruptly, but you can always say he's a premiership player and was so in his final game in the black and white. But I guess some attention, and particularly with the mid-season draft right around the corner, there will be some attention as to how Collingwood look to fill his role in his list spot, I guess. You know, that they'll have that one opened up. That's the only one they'll have opened up, given Dan McStay is still pushing for a late season return, and they used 3 at the supplemental selection period earlier this year. So Billy Frampton's done a great job. Craig McRae is certainly pleased with his role in defence alongside Darcy Moore and Jeremy Howe. They've got Charlie Aidan and Josh Hare kind of on standby area, just still kind of recovering from a hamstring injury. How have you seen, I guess, life without Nathan Murphy to start the season for the Pies?
Yeah, well, as you alluded to, it is quite sad news. He's only 24, played 57 games for Collingwood. He looked like he just finally, all of last year, but even at the back end of 2022 or most of that year anyway, solidified his spot in the defence under Craig McRae. He was playing with freedom and courage and bravery. You can see him peeling off his opponents, making the spoil. But also, which I think a lot of people didn't realise maybe in the first few weeks of Murphy's absence, it gave Howe and Moore freedom to really play more aggressively off their players and peel off and take those intercept marks, which really, kind of created that momentum off that half-back line, which Collingwood essentially won a premiership off last year. So his role was pivotal to how they played. But looking at this year, Frampton has done a good job since joining the side. I think it was round 2 or 3. Charlie Dean got given the first look over the first couple of weeks. So he just kind of provides that strong defensive-minded player, that kind of lockdown defender, which we saw, ironically, in the grand final as a defensive forward in Harris Andrews. But now, switching down the other end of the ground, he's doing a similar job on some of the game's key forwards. And again, gives Moore and Howe the freedom, and even Maynard the freedom to play a little bit more aggressively, to peel off and help out when needed. And as you've noticed the last 3 weeks, they're 3 on the trot now, so they're looking quite strong behind the ball. But as we know, probably in modern football, it is a system-based defence. It's not necessarily one-on-one like it has been, but you do need to have confidence behind the ball, which Frampton has been able to produce in the last 3 or so weeks.
Yeah, they've got some good options. I'm really big on Charlie Dean. I think he'll come around at some point. He's obviously had a pretty luckless run to start at Collingwood over the last couple of years with injury. Josh Hare the same, got that opportunity despite being injured, so that kind of shows the faith they have in him. And then Billy Frampton's, playing the best footy of his career, which is quite timely for the Pies at the moment. But you would think that they do consider some mid-season draft options. At the moment, I think they're looking at a top 10 selection. They're not going to be right at the front of the queue unless they fall away over the next month or so. But they'll certainly have a decent shot at someone in their sight. So a few names to kind of consider off the Coates Talent League: Cooper Trembath and Ben Hopkins. So these are the kids that we've seen, like a Ryan Marrick or a Jai Cully, that get to go back to the Talent League despite missing the draft last year as an overage prospect, get another chance. And often, we see a lot of these kids picked up in the mid-season draft with strong starts to their 2024 campaign. So, Trembath and Hopkins, 2, I think that will maybe be a chance, especially if Collingwood are looking for a medium to taller size defender. I think Trembath 193, Hopkins a bit smaller, maybe 190, but 2 guys who could certainly fill a role or at least add to their depth as maybe longer term options if they are kind of locking in Frampton and maybe a Dean or Ayre as the now guys, and if they still want to kind of just bolster their defensive stocks given they've lost Murphy at the moment. And then maybe a more mature age one would be Jacob Blight from Peel Thunder. So he's 23, similar age, but 100 plus kilos, 196 centimetres, so a bit of a bigger body, and maybe for more of the bigger key forwards, and that still allows Darcy Moore a bit of freedom, similar to what I guess Frampton can offer at the moment as well. But one of the best key defenders in the waffle at the moment, still a young age. I think he was Team of the Year last year in his first year at Peel Thunder, came over from Claremont. So he's one I think could be a chance. Obviously all those guys nominated for last year's draft, so they're keen to take that step up and will be eligible for the mid-season draft. So there's a few names there. If they want experienced options, and this is kind of that quick fix, get someone in that's played at this top level before through the mid-season draft, you're looking at a Tom Highmore maybe, an Aidan Bonner. So those guys have gone to the VFL since being delisted at St Kilda and North Melbourne respectively. and yeah, could be an option as those kind of medium, tall-sized players. Probably a bit different. Both of them, Highmore a bit more athletic, maybe more of an intercept, good aerial, but clean by foot, and Bond a bit bigger size, more of a lockdown. So a couple options there. And then I guess the other option for Collingwood as well is to look a bit longer, maybe skip the mid-season draft and start stockpiling some options for trade and free agency. So there's going to be a few names that are off contract, albeit are they gettable? I'm not too sure, but just a few key defenders or I guess taller defensive options that the Pies could consider. Jack Henry and Jake Kolodjasny, both at Geelong, both unsigned. The Cats have a lot of work to do, obviously, to get a few others locked up. And will there be will a product of their busy list management be having one of their premiership players potentially on the way out, given how much they have to work through? A few others, Josh Battle and Dougal Howard, both at St Kilda. All these guys are off contracts, by the way. Denver Granger Barras, Jack Scrimshaw, 2 at Hawks. Granger Barras, don't know what he would cost really at this point. Obviously Hawthorn rate him quite highly, but he just hasn't been able to be the player that they drafted just yet. And obviously injured at the moment is going to hurt. So could come quite cheap for a bloke who was a top 10 pick not too long ago. And then another one might be Nick Haynes at GWS. Bit of experience, he's 30 plus, off contract this year, not really getting a game at GWS, and certainly could slot into a contending club like Collingwood.
Yeah, I think, personally, if I was the list managers at Collingwood, I'd be looking for kind of a here and now defender. Nathan Murphy, as we've established, he was 24, was kind of ready-made. He was ready at the AFL level. He competed very well and did super job, the last couple of years especially. So I think, with Josh Eyre especially being signed in the preseason, you've alluded to Charlie Dean's, I guess, improvement in the last maybe 12 months. They do have a little bit of young depth there, which hopefully they will start to spike in the next year or 2 years. But whilst they believe, and also I think as well, they are in the, I guess, contending phase at the moment with some of the aging stars, about to leave in the next 12 to 24 months. I think, especially in the off-season, they'll do look to bring in someone mature age, maybe has a bit of experience under their belt, even in the mid-season draft as well, as you alluded to a few names there, to as I said, bolster that back line and kind of do the role that Billy Frampton is doing at the moment, and also add another bit of depth to the lineup as well.
Yeah, plenty to consider there, and obviously mid-season draft not too far away. Just I think it's May 29th.
Yep.
We'll have all that live coverage and plenty of build-up coverage on some of the prospects and clubs and who will have list spots and how all that unfolds. Obviously, pretty exciting time.